Don, when you were growing up, were you ever in a football locker room?
Occasionally.
Okay, you know, I've been in a football locker room myself.
Really?
But, anyway, when I was there, I noticed a couple of things. Did you notice anything there about the lockers? I mean,
I have noticed
what'd
stuff.
you notice?
What I noticed is something that two research scientists found out also.
Yeah?
They looked at the lockers of professional football players on the offense and defense team. You know what they found?
Yeah.
Offensive players have neat lockers, and defensive players have messy lockers. Now, why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Now, why in the world would the offense have neat lockers?
Yeah.
The defense
now,
has
it's
messy lockers.
just a statistical correlation. That's
right.
all it is. We're talking about a tendency here. It's not a 100% rule, but it's a tendency. And, okay, the research scientists propose that offensive players see their roles in the game differently than defensive players. Offensive players want the plans to work exactly as pre-planned. They want the end receiver to be exactly where he's supposed to be. They want everything to go like clockwork. So they want everything neat, orderly, punt, bunt, bunt, by the numbers. Whereas the defensive players,
they want to just throw everything apart. They want to get the offensive plan from the other team and just wreck it.
They want the more that it's messed up, the better it is for defense.
Exactly what they want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's an interesting allegory for business.
It sure is, because the skills and the talents that are necessary to be offensive are not necessarily the same as to be effectively defensive.
So for a business, what is that?
That means that it's very different to try to be innovative and creative and all those sorts of things, and at the same time to be very efficient and have
operate smoothly, go from place to place, go
predictable, have everything very much cost controlled. That's right. So
that's like the conflict between innovation and operating,
and
right?
That's right.
Excellent operations.
That's right. Excellent operations. So
very few businesses.
Very few have figured out how to balance those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you could argue also that management efficiency actually hurts innovation in some cases.
Yeah.
So, for instance, one study of several different kinds of companies that have gone through efficiency improvement programs. You all know these programs, like quality control, Six Sigma, total quality management, things like that. The proportion of patents that are based on totally new ideas at companies that have gone through efficiency programs, the proportion of totally new idea patents tends to decline.
Right.
One very good study in a certain industry looked over a 30-year period and found that this was true across the board.
In 1990, 20% of all innovations were truly new to the world. But by 2000, just 11.5% were. It's just dropping.
There's a really good example here, 3M.
Yeah.
You want to tell that story?
Yeah. Well, 3M is one of the most innovative companies in the world. They were always named in the top 10. They've always been, all about patents. If it's flat and it's sticky and it's bendable, it's probably 3M. And they
so they've got things like Scotch tape
and Post-it
notes. They've been in masking tape, Post-it notes.
Everything. So in the 90s, their costs though were just soaring out of control. So in the year 2000, the board named one of the GE guys. One of the Jack Welch proteges as
McNerney,
the new CEO.
James McNerney,
That's right,
CEO.
So McNerney introduced Six Sigma. Well, that was a smart thing to do, try to control costs, get everything under control, and so forth. But soon, McNerney's team got everything under control, the costs were going down, but as profitability grew, the innovation also started going down, because if you're really, really good at Six Sigma, then you're not going to be off there sort of creating a bunch of stuff and having all those clipboards doing, and you don't have people thinking up great thoughts. What you do is, if you're on Six Sigma, now this is an oversimplification, obviously, but basically the idea is that we just want you to learn to have that best idea the first time.
Exactly. Don't waste all the money on the ideas that aren't going to work. And of course, that's not the way innovation works. In fact, George Buckley, the new British CEO who was brought in eventually to replace McNerney, says, I think his quote is something like, "Invention by its nature is disorderly." Right. You can't schedule yourself for a good idea on Thursday because you haven't had one for a few days. It doesn't work that way. Invention and innovation, creativity requires messiness, whereas cost control and orderly functions require efficiency. Right?
But you know what? No team can succeed. Nobody wins the Super Bowl unless they're good at offense and defense.
Right.
Unless they're good at innovation and cost control.
Yeah.
Well, innovation is really a process of trial and error. You're not going to get the really big wins unless you're willing to have a few failures.
So you have to be a company. You have to be a company that does that. Is there an example?
That's right. And well, think about Apple Inc. Now, Apple Inc. You know, I know that a lot of
people. Yeah, but Apple does all successes, like the Macintosh.
Yeah, you think that, but before the Macintosh, there was the Lisa computer.
Oh, okay. Well, what about the iPod?
Yeah, I know. Well, before the iPod, there was the Newton PDA. So what happened was they learned from the. All right. The first phone had a Motorola piece in it. That was and that failed too. Right. And now the iPhone is somewhere. So that really does tell us a lot about the willingness to take a risk and then learn from that and have a huge success.
And why is this important for businesses? Because the pace of change is accelerating. It's not your imagination. Change is happening faster and faster. In fact, the more technology we have, the faster the next technology is going to be coming.
That's right.
What that really means is that dealing with this interconnected world that we're living in, what's going to be important for a business is not the innovation it has today, but the ability to have more innovations tomorrow.
Yeah,
so what we're really talking about is sustainable innovation.
That's right. And you know, if you ever had a kid come up and ask you at college, who's going to college, you know, what should I be studying that's going to be useful to me 10 or 15 years from now? What do they say?
They say, what should I study in school that that will still be applicable in 10, 15 years when I'm in the business? I know what I tell them.
What do you tell them?
I tell them, nothing you study in school is going to be applicable in 10 to 15 years. The world will be totally different in 10 to 15 years.
That's right.
You know, you need to learn in school how to solve problems, how to adapt, how to learn new things.
Right. So that
learn how to learn.
So we should have that discussion again about liberal arts, shouldn't we? All right. The point is that we want to ask this. Liberal arts.
Engineering.
Liberal arts.
Engineering.
Liberal arts affinity. All right, so can your company play both offense and defense? That's really the question,
That's the question.
Yeah.